Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Today we welcome a special guest, Charlie from Bitlayer. They're another Bitcoin layer 2. We're going to get into everything they're doing, Bitcoin DeFi. So welcome to the channel, Charlie.
Hey Alex, thank you for having me.
You guys have just successfully completed another raise of funding from, I think it was Polychain. So do you want to give everyone at home a bit of your background and how you got into Bitlayer and what stage that is of development?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Alex. Hey everybody, this is Charlie, co-founder of Bitlayer. We launched Bitlayer since last November. It's been an amazing journey. Less than 12 months, we've been growing pretty fast. So as Alex mentioned last week, during the Bitcoin Amsterdam conference, we announced the last extended Series A round led by Polychain, co-led by Franklin Templeton. So, yeah, a bit about myself, my background. So I got to know Ethereum since 2015 when I was in Europe, mostly because of Ethereum Berlin. Then the founder of Ethereum, the CTO of Ethereum started Polkadot. I was first round investor, actually pretty active in ecosystem build for Polkadot, especially in China. Brought a lot of the ecosystem in Polkadot. And DeFi Summer came in 2020. It got deep dive on a lot of the DeFi yield farming protocols. And 2021 joined Ethereum, pretty famous L2 called Polygon, becoming the head of APEC, building the ecosystem. So that was the very interesting gaming NFT cycle, last cycle. Learned a lot. Left Polygon, started kind of doing my own thing. Really get to know about the Bitcoin ecosystem because the Ordinals. So I was first week kind of inscribing sub 5K, 10K, a lot of those inscriptions. BRC20, all these came out. I was kind of every day talking about all kinds of these Bitcoin primitives. The Ordinal Summit last year in Singapore really gets me inspired to build things to scale Bitcoin. And of course, we have the BitVM, all these new solutions came out. So we get very excited to start doing research about BitVM. And I reconnected with my current co-founder, Kevin. And we started officially full-time working on Bitlayer since last November. And so since we started, we have been growing pretty fast. We launched our V1 mainnet this April. So far, we've been growing over 260 projects deploy our mainnet, around the 550 million TVR already. I think we are still number one on the DeFi Llama in the Bitcoin sidechain and L2 category. And yeah, a lot of the interesting stuff happening. So we raised 25 million in total, 5 on the seed and 20 million on the Series A. Franklin Templeton made a strategic bet on us. We've been working and talking to a lot of the institutional ETF firms. And yeah, a lot of the DeFi protocol we've been actively building and working together. This is very exciting moments. And obviously, we want to engage more and more builders across different ecosystem, kind of orange pill them and bring them to the Bitlayer ecosystem. So Bitlayer essentially is working on this Bitcoin verification with BVM2 solution. We are implementing the Bitcoin friendly Zk stock prover and verifier in order to verify transactions on Bitcoin L1. In that case, we can have access to Bitcoin security without sacrificing, some of the performance. And that's kind of the key solution we're working on. The V2 mainnet we're launching very soon with a new framework called OPVM, try to be future proof. I have the hybrid model, combine the OpCat and the BVM together. For the people who are interested in this technology, stay tuned our blog. Yeah, that's I will stop over there on this. Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a good intro, and you've already touched on a few things. So we've interviewed, a lot of projects in the Stacks ecosystem. Botanics is one. So how do you
Yeah.
see? Do you think it's a good thing that we have these different approaches? You mentioned that you guys are using that ZK technology and the Bitcoin chain
Yeah.
itself for security. What's your point of
Mm.
differences? How do you see some of the other chains and approaches that are being taken?
Yeah, so different approaches all have different pros and cons, trade-offs. I wouldn't say one solution fits all, and I wouldn't, obviously we are biased. We think our approaches is very good design, due to a lot of researches and the back and forth, and we're comparing a lot of other existing researchers and approaches as well. When you mentioned botanics, we know them fairly well. We are both invested at Polychain in the same kind of Polychain family.
Yeah.
They are doing this small side chain, spider chain with multiple layers of MPC kind of a route. We are Bitlayer, we try to be more building this native Bitcoin L2 with like roll up and kind of architect.
Yeah.
The key difference is we're working on BVM, the Bitcoin verification. rather than just a side chain with multi-sig. Multi-sig is already very secure, but the trust assumption is that we have to trust the majority of signers are honest, whereas the BVM solution, the BVM bridge and the verification, the trust assumption is 1 out of n on the signers are honest, then the bridge is secure and safe. So it's more trustless. So that's kind of the key difference. I think I've been building ecosystem, right? As I mentioned, I worked with Polkadot, I worked in Polygon, and I know a lot of other Ethereum L2s. I have across all the Ethereum and all kind of proof of stake ecosystem. I have friends or like working for over 20 different chains. So the best chains, the best ecosystem is not just only the best tech. You need to deliver figure out best product market fit, best communities, and also even in the end, best culture, right? And then eventually have users to stick around, have the retention, and best builder will stick around actually, co-building with the ecosystem. For that, I think we have been gaining a lot of trust and learning a lot of practice and knowledge by doing it. Last 6 months, we have been interacting with hundreds of projects and builders with a lot of on-chain transactions. So far, Bitlayer on average, we have over 100,000 transactions per day. All-time high, we hit 250,000 transactions one day. So we have a lot of things and activities already happening in the chain, whereas other approaches, they are still launching their mainnet. I think some of them I heard they're going to delay till 2025. So we're kind of leading on that part in terms of interacting with the communities, with builders, with application you're building on top of us. So I believe it's not only the best tech will win. Technology is very important. We are all technology companies, and over 60% of our team members are engineers and researchers. But I think the best performance ecosystem needs to be the ones have the best product market fit with the best culture and the best kind of go-to-market strategy as well.
Fantastic. So yeah, well done on already being number one in terms of total value locked in all the Bitcoin layers too. So that's a big achievement. So apologies if you said this already, but what's next in terms of this V2 upgrade and the next upgrades for the ecosystem and how that will affect the users to continue that growth?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So the V2 will be very important. It's an essential major milestone we want to hit. Right now, we would argue as just fact checking, right? None of the Bitcoin L2 right now achieved the Bitcoin verification yet, including us. We are still kind of work in progress. So the V2 will give a testnet version, state transaction happening on Bitcoin Bitlayer chain can be verified through the Tapestry route, without actually requiring and waiting for the Bitcoin, soft fork.
Yeah.
So there are a few approaches I didn't mention that are actually pending on this Bitcoin soft fork on the opcat, because Bitcoin right now at the status quo, there's no multiply kind of capabilities.
Yeah.
In order to do native, zk snark, proofs on Bitcoin L1, you need that. So the beauty of BitVM is we don't have to depend on the opcat upgradation, right? So we can use the existing scripting language to verify transactions. I think that's the kind of key part of we're implementing. Obviously, this is something in the long run will have huge impact. And so the V2 mean that we are paying a lot of attention. Our engineering team is all heads on deck working on it, and we're gonna have a testnet version about this, I think around early November. We probably will launch that during the DevCon. Kind of that's the alpha for people who are listening. But yeah, this is I wouldn't say it. I would say it's a huge deal. Obviously, it will take time for people to realize how important it is, and the communities are kind of among all kinds of teams are kind of waiting on that. Bitcoin in the last 15 years never had a real roll up. It's all just side chains, and side chain we all know doesn't really have too much momentum, due to various reasons. We trust Bitcoin. We trust Bitcoin security. We want a Bitcoin security equivalent to kind of roll up. I think that's kind of the consensus within the community. Whatever things settled back in Bitcoin L1 is the real settlements. And we want this kind of seamless two-way pack in and pack out kind of roll up model. It already kind of proven worked in Ethereum with Arbitrum, Optimism, all the other ZK roll up in Ethereum L2s, and a lot of those builders now thinking about how to tap into Bitcoin security, right? Bitcoin liquidity. So that's kind of the very important solution we're going to deliver. And we'll stay tuned for all the updates. Yeah.
I guess you've had the opportunity, as you said, to learn a lot from the Ethereum ecosystem over the years, and Polkadot, as you mentioned, with Gavin Wood and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts around a token, and are you guys planning on having a token and implementing that in the model? What sort of things the pros and cons of all that?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Okay, in Web3, without have a token is always a bit challenging. We had a long, deep chat in Bitcoin Amsterdam with Lightning Labs, right? They don't have token, right? It's a very important kind of business is running with the fees they charge. Obviously, Bitlayer trying to make a real business case, business model on that as well, not just selling tokens, right?
Yeah.
And that was like a very interesting, very hyped kind of speech made by a person called Morad doing Token 2049. He was saying, in summarizing a very good way, in Web3, there are three things projects are selling. One is the technology, second is the community, the third is the token, right? Some of the company, which we're skeptical and some a bit scammy is they only have token. They don't have technology, don't have community, right?
Yeah.
Whereas some other business they only have the technology, they have no community and no token, right? So it's like a pros and cons. I think building ecosystem, especially building important kind of trustless, permissionless ecosystem that require incentive layer. Without a governance token, without an incentive kind of mechanism, it would be difficult to really grow the ecosystem. That's kind of the things we see. We've been talking to a few kind of public company that they want to build sidechain mechanism around Bitcoin, including even Marathon.
Yeah.
They can't really issue tokens, and they don't have the kind of the legal backgrounds to do that. So it's actually quite difficult for them to really build an ecosystem around it. We all know like Ethereum and all the other proof of stake ecosystem, token plays a major role in terms of governance, in terms of validating, right? In terms of doing staking and all that, in terms of pooling to liquidity and stuff. So BTR token will serve two major functions as a tokenomics and token utility. One is the validator who want access to the gas fee revenue share, they need to market buy the token and put it into staking and become validator to join this, Bitlayer network. That's first thing. And then like slash mechanism if they don't perform well. If they perform well every day, they can access to the gas fee revenue share. The bigger the ecosystem we build, the more gas fee revenue we make, the more revenue we can share to the validators, right? It's like become like a more positive feedback loop. And of course, the more revenue we have, the more validator wants to join this program and market by the token.
Yeah.
Second is governance, right? There's certain things we maybe will go through like referendum, like global foundation kind of voting. That's something happened in Polkadot, like this on-chain governance. I'm pretty familiar with that. I think for a lot of the token kind of structure, the governance kind of proof of stake ecosystem, that's very important to have a governance token. And then the third thing we are kind of also exploring is kind of a hybrid kind of a liquidity pool, right? We use gas fee we use Bitcoin as gas fee. Eventually, maybe we're gonna combine the BTR token as gas fee together with some few liquidity pools. At this moment, without our governance token, Bitlayer, we use wrapped Bitcoin as our layer 2 gas fees, and then we use wrapped Bitcoin mostly as like liquidity, like denominated assets.
Yeah.
In the future, we'll have hybrid model. Obviously, a tradable high liquidity token, listed on most of the DEXs and the essential exchanges is very important to have a thriving ecosystem. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, I want to dive into a little bit about the excitement that's been renewed lately around runes and ordinals and stamps.
Sure.
You mentioned the pre-interview that you were involved early on. So what are your thoughts on that space? And I know there's extreme opinions from maxis that are saying this is clogging the chain, and even some miners that might be blocking that transactions, considering it's spam and whatnot, versus, hey, this is an experimental new thing. And eventually I think it'll move to projects like yourselves and other layer 2s and whatnot. But yeah, how do you see all that space?
Yeah, first of all, I think, well, let me kind of just give some facts, right, in what happened in history. So in 2021, late 2021, there's a major upgradation happened. A lot of people didn't know that until last year. That was called the Taproot asset upgradation. So the whole Bitcoin community approved that the BIP and the full 30 that basically give the capability for people to inscribe data on the Bitcoin sats, right, within the Bitcoin block.
Yeah.
So Taproot operation actually allow a new type of wallets, type as well. So we have the Bitcoin native wallets type, and then we have the Taproot asset wallets type.
Yeah.
For people who wants to inscribe it, ordinals, runes, they have to use this Taproot asset and wallets type, right, in the Unisat, Xverse, or the other Bitcoin wallets.
Yeah.
So that's that. That happened, and then Casey, a very great builder in the Bitcoin ecosystem, he came up with this protocol called Ordinals protocol in early 2023, basically the late 2022, right? Really get it picked up by the community in early 2023. I was also early adopter. That was interesting because NFT on Ethereum was kind of dumping pretty heavily. There was like losing the momentum and so on. And then there was a lot of people realized the NFTs on Ethereum is not even native NFTs. They only had the metadata, on the Ethereum network. The JPEG is actually installed in a third party, no matter it's like AWS or IPFS or so on, right? If
Yeah.
you lose that, you lose the entire JPEG. So that was like, oh, we can natively, inscribe a thing like whatever it's NFT or like whatever others, right, on Bitcoin network, which is forever there, right? Tamper proof, immutable, which is very exciting. So that gets people pretty excited about that. We would argue without that Bitcoin, all in those kind of renaissance, right, last year, we wouldn't have this discussion about how to scale Bitcoin and so on. Because one, there was no traction, and nobody had the excitement to build things around it because there's no user.
Yeah.
Second, because all these kind of quote unquote attacks, claimed by the maxis, right? They realized, okay, because people actually having fun speculating, trading, creating assets on top of Bitcoin, there was additional fees reward, right, earned by the miners and people. So it's like contradictory. In the beginning, people don't like it. When they realize they can earn more fees, more revenue, they actually like it.
Yeah.
So it's a very free market liberal kind of dynamics. It doesn't matter whoever people think about whatever, the market talk about the truth.
Yeah.
If there's a market, economically, there's a reason of a supply and demand. There's a reason for that, right? Obviously, the future should not be just inscribing all kinds of garbage UTX on Bitcoin L1. Bitcoin L1 never designed to be this kind of mass adoption. Everybody doing things like making this network very clunky, very busy, and also the gas fee become like very very high. Right, last year some people paid hundreds of dollars for one transaction doing some crazy mint time.
Yeah.
So that's not sustainable, I think. So that's kind of the reason why we need to scale Bitcoin to move all kinds of social experiments, crazy things on Bitcoin L2s or side chains. But the proof will be verified and settle back to Bitcoin L1.
Yeah.
Leave Bitcoin L1 as the key things, as a digital gold, as some of the payment layer with Lightning, a few other kind of approaches. So all of those runes has been important, right? I think that's kind of my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's like way to upgrade and of course improve. We would argue, and also even Casey himself and Domo, who is also our angel investor, who invented the BRC20 protocol, they all kind of agree. There are a lot of scammers who mint a lot of kind of pump and dump, very short term kind of assets or projects on runes on the BRC20. And so far, runes has been a bit disappointing. A lot of people kind of overhyped a bit, right? They're doing the halving. So far, not too many rune assets has been very picked up by the community.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the dynamics right now. But I think things will come back, right? These protocols are very important as a building blocks for the community, and the more people eventually will think about new ideas, and the application will come up and pick up as well.
Fantastic.
I
Yeah.
think the dynamics between all the runes and BRC20 and our L2s is we provide them a more higher level programmability environment to let the runes and the BRC20 asset holders to put into staking to access to more liquidity kind of AMM dexes and even doing things like the perp dex and other things, which you can't really build and do that in Bitcoin L1.
Yeah.
So we provided more options for people to play around to get more utilities with those assets, right?
Yeah.
The liquidity on runes and ordinals are pretty low, right? It's a difficult to really make a very high performance. You could use case kind of trading experiences on Bitcoin L1.
Yeah.
It takes almost 20 minutes to fully confirm on Bitcoin L1 network, whereas our L2s it takes less than 1 minute and so on. So it's like multiple category of difference in terms of the performance, user experience, and also programmability.
Yeah.
Those things, some of them will be useful, some of them may not be needed. But I think for where we are, in the runes and Ordinals topic, we try to provide this multiple new options for the holders, right?
Yeah.
Whereas right now, most of the holders who hold those Ordinals and the runes sitting on their like your Web3 wallets doing nothing, right?
Yeah.
It's been quite a while. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I know you've got a hard out, so we'll wrap it up shortly. But I'll put the links to follow Bitlayer and Charlie in the description down below, as always, guys. But any final thoughts on where you'd love to see Bitlayer by the end of the year and long term, and just Bitcoin in general and Bitcoin DeFi and all the great things that we seem to be on the cusp of as we enter this bull market?
First of all, thank you, Alex, for the interview. Great talking to you, and hopefully to come back again. Bitlayer has been growing pretty fast, and we try to really some kind of make a small history within the Bitcoin ecosystem. I think that's the most important thing. Whatever infrastructure or things built around Bitcoin will make history. That's something I always believe. Bitcoin gonna here to stay in the next 10 to 20 years, and even like 50 or 100 years. In order to make this sustainable ecosystem, we can't just depend on this, the mining rewards, right? And it's going to halving every 4 years. So we need a ecosystem around Bitcoin to, still generating fees for the miners to pay all the security costs. So it's in the long run, it's very important. So we're kind of trying to contributing that for that future, right? We all want to have a long-term, like thriving, sustainable ecosystem around Bitcoin. So that's that. 2024 is a very great cycle. It's a cycle the institution actually coming over, right? We have Franklin Templeton leading our investment on Bitlayer. We're talking to Grayscale, BlackRock, 21 Shares, all the other ETF firms. We're attending a lot of the kind of the fintech conferences, which in the past those people actually have nothing to say with Bitcoin, with Web3. Now they have a lot to say because they have exposure. They can legally have some exposure, right? Investment through the ETF, the ETP products. This cycle is very focused on institutional adoption. I would argue right now the retail hasn't really entered the bull cycle yet. A lot of the bull cycle retail hype happened in 2021 has not even happened at all in 2024. Maybe it will happen next year, but all the institutional adoption and the buying pressure, all these like engagement and investment is already happening, and it's actually happening a lot. So Bitlayer have the honor to work with one of the best ETF firm, right? Franklin Templeton. We're talking to others. We're designing some of the new financial products, Bitcoin DeFi products with those institutions. We are very looking forward to announce that very soon. Of course, still work in progress, but that's very important to engage the next 100 mil, even 1 billion users who will treat the Bitcoin or all these Web3 assets as a very important alternative assets as investment, and also use all these on-chain DeFi protocol as a financial products, which they don't have to trust the centralized exchanges. They don't have to have this impact on the hurt, right? Things like FTX and so on. We can go through this trust minimized way to tap into all kinds of on-chain staking, yield farming opportunities. That's something very important for the modern finance, for all kinds of users. And I think that's something, Bitlayer, we are very honored to contribute a bit on that in the journey.
Fantastic. Well, I've really enjoyed the chat today, Charlie. Thanks for joining us, and we'll have to catch up again in future. Cheers.
Yeah, looking forward. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.